Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. It's almost Friday. Surprising you to come on here twice this week. I usually don't do that. I actually have a little story to tell you in a second about why that is. But wanted to let you know what we're going to talk about today and get some feedback from you all if you're watching the live or if you're watching this on the replay. And that is, have you checked your click-through rates recently? Like how many people are clicking on those links in your email? Typically, the average click-through rate is around 2%, I think is the latest stat that it's like right around there. It's like 1.9. And that's how we're getting people to move forward in our sales funnel. So if yours isn't at least that 1.92%, you're going to have a really hard time converting people into buyers. And so I wanted to give you some suggestions on how to increase that click-through rate. Most people that go through my program are seeing click-through rates somewhere around 8%. So pretty significant increase there from the average. So I just wanted to, and I'll talk to you a little bit more in a couple minutes about the program, but I just wanted to hear from you guys. Like, what is your click-through rate looking like right now? Do you think it could use some improvement? And how many people are actually purchasing from you through email? I heard this amazing stat the other day, which is a little bit scary, but also it's scary from a human perspective, but great from a marketing perspective, for especially for people that are newer business owners. And that is that like 55% of people check their email before they get out of bed in the morning. And so why that's good as a business owner, not great as a human, because you probably should do a few things before you check your email, and doing that could stress you out. But as a marketer, that's an opportunity for you to be in front of their eyeballs first thing in the morning. And so considering that when you're putting your emails out there and then making it compelling enough to click on. And so the disadvantage of that, like thinking through that scenario, is that if you have a link in your email and they click on it, they may forget about it by later in the day, or they may not click on it at all and forget about the email. And so sometimes as marketers, we think, oh, we're emailing too much, we're sending them too many things. But we need to remember that people don't always read everything that we put out there. A lot of skimming happens, and also that we're distracted. And so people might look at our email for a couple of minutes and then realize they've got, kids crying, breakfast to make, whatever it might be, and they forget about our emails. So that's why it's really important, one, that we keep showing up, and two, that we are making those links really easy to click on. So that's what I want to talk about today. So I did like a reverse list of reasons, and then I'll get to the number one reason in just a minute. But why is it important they click on our links? Well, we work really hard to create emails, write emails, have really good copy, and get the darn things opened. And so that's a lot of work to increase those open rates, especially because there are so many people in the inbox. Like you hear people checking email, 55% of people are checking email before breakfast. Well, if that's the case, I'm sure we're not the only ones in their inbox. And so getting them to open that's a whole nother ball game. Something else that we talk about in Email Breakthrough Academy is getting those headlines right so that they're compelled to open the email. But you get them worked really hard to get them to open the email. And then if they don't click on the link, it's like, oh, I did so much work and now nobody's moving forward, or they're not, consuming the content you created. And that takes a lot of time to do, or they're not clicking on the buy now button. So because you're working really hard to get them to open those emails, we want to get some leverage from the links that we're putting in there. And so I'm going to dive into the number 3 reason. This is actually it's one of the top reasons, but the number 3 reason that people do not click on your link is because you only send sales emails. Now, I have seen this so many times where people get added to the email list with a free resource or free lead generator or whatever that is, and then they immediately start selling them into their program. And I've talked about this before in my videos and on the podcast, but we have to build a relationship with people. We can't just show up and start, shake their hand and start selling them something. It's the equivalent of going to a networking meeting, meeting somebody for the first time and saying, hey, do you want to get married? No, they don't, because they don't know you. And so buying is an emotional decision, whether we like that or not. And we have to put in the time and the effort to get them to trust us and to build that relationship. And so when we immediately start selling, first, second email in, that's a huge turnoff to people. And even if you're a big company, it's a huge turnoff, because I've had that happen with even larger companies. I buy a lot of craft supplies, and larger companies will just like stock you to no end with coupons and whatever. And you're like, I don't even know if I want that yet. Like, you're number one, you're following me around, and I was just doing some initial research. Well, people are doing the same for you. And I've talked about that sales survey several times. That was such an eye opener for me, that only 2% of people are actually ready to buy when they seek you out. 2%. That means you've got 98% of people that you still have to court and take on a date. And I actually just did an episode on that recently on the podcast, which you can find at elisaconnor.com/podcast, and talked about that very thing and how it takes time to build a relationship, and that because we like instant gratification, we think we have instant buyers as well, and we don't. And so, yes, it's okay to sell in your emails by all means, but don't just send sales emails, because they're not going to work. And then you'll be frustrated and you'll be like, no, email doesn't work. Well, it does work, but you have to invest the time and the energy to build a relationship. And then number 2, going backwards, is that that they're not clicking on your link, is that they don't see the value in the link for what you're wanting them to do. And so they haven't connected, like they need this in their life, to clicking the button. And so we have to make that really clear. And that's going to lead us up to number 1 in just a second. But if we're, putting, say, a podcast episode out there, we're not even selling anything. If we haven't made the value and the reasons so compelling for them to click on that link, they're just not going to click on it. And so the click-through rates really start to struggle, or you really start to struggle with your click-through rates when you're not making the connection to your people as to why they should spend their time, energy, or money on clicking on that link. And this is where I see a lot of business owners struggle. It's a hard thing to figure out in marketing. But getting really clear about not necessarily your niche, but exactly who you're talking to, so that you know what is going on in their heads and what they're struggling with, is really going to make a difference for how you show up in your marketing. And then you can portray that information in your messaging and in how you talk to your people. And it builds the connection quicker. It builds the relationship quicker. And so when you're putting that link in there and you already know who they are and you know how it's going to help them with that, with whatever you put in there, say your podcast for the week, then it's much easier to talk about, and they're more compelled to click on it, whether they're busy, distracted, or not. They'll come back to it. So making sure that, the buildup around that link, or the link that you've put in there, is beneficial to the subscriber and the reader, is really, really critical. And a lot of people struggle with that. And that's something that I personally help people with in my business, is to make that connection and understand that. And we talk about it in the Email Breakthrough Academy as well. So the Email Breakthrough Academy is my signature program, and we're going to get to number 1 in just a second. But the doors are currently open. I only open it up a few times a year, and they close next week. And this program is it's the process that I use with my consulting clients, and that I have used with my consulting clients, to empower your email to be your sales team for you. So it gives you the power to scale who you are on a grander scale. That was way too many uses of the word scale, but that's okay. But you can reach more people without having to spend an hour with this person, 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 through email. And ultimately it helps you get your time back, so that you can then focus on selling more services and being dedicated to the people that you are already helping. And how we do that is we get more of your emails opened, read, clicked on, and people purchasing some of the things that we've talked about this week. And so if that is at all interesting to you, or you are really struggling with your email and you don't know what to write, and maybe you don't have a good lead magnet, this is the program for you. I've had multiple people go through the program, and in fact, 2 of the students in the program last time, after module 3, I think it was, they both had a new client. just after going through the module and applying a couple of the things that they learned. And so it's a really powerful program, and I would love to have you be a part of it. So if you're interested in that program, the link is below this video, and you can go and click on the link and learn more about the program and the costs and what's included and all that stuff over on that page. So let's dive into number 3. Which is actually number 1, because I'm going backwards. I don't go backwards very often, so I'm struggling a little bit. But the number 1 reason that people don't click on the link in your emails and move forward in your sales funnel is because you're putting a slew of links in your email. So I'm going to give you an example. So as I said, I'm a crafter, and so I subscribe to lots of crafting emails. And what I will find is that they will put links to all of the things, or all the card examples, or all the things that are on sale in their email. And so why it doesn't work, why having multiple calls to action doesn't work, is that the human brain can really only focus on one thing at a time. And if this is the first time you're hearing that, I'm going to repeat it. The human mind can only focus on one thing at a time. And so this illusion of multitasking that we all live by is just that. It's an illusion. You cannot focus your brain on multiple things going on. And if you do, something is going to suffer. And so when you give your brain multiple choices, it will either do one of 2 things. It'll make a choice, just like whatever works, and you only have them choose one thing, or they'll be overwhelmed and they won't choose at all. And that can be really frustrating as a business owner and a marketer, because if people aren't choosing a link, that means they're not moving forward. And that means like you feel like you've invested a lot of time and energy into an email that just didn't work. And so I highly recommend using one call to action, and you can repeat it throughout the email if you want to, but just use a singular call to action, because then you're making it very clear. This is what you need to do next. This is where I want you to go. And you will significantly increase your click-through rates on your emails simply because you made it really easy for them to choose. So an example that I use with my clients is that if you go to the grocery store and you don't have a cart, you don't get to use a cart this day. And because they're out of carts, whatever the reason is. And you have one bag of groceries and they're in a paper bag, not the plastic bags, but the paper bags, because we want to be able to recycle. And if they hand you that bag, you can probably carry it pretty easily to your car. But if they hand you a second bag, well, it's a little bit more difficult. You can't really get the car door open. You can't, you're having a hard time juggling through the parking lot. Well, then if you add a third bag onto that, you're really struggling. You can't see very well because you're trying to balance all the bags. This is exactly what we do to our clients when we hand them 1, 2, or 3 calls to action, or 1 or 2 or 3 choices to work with us, or 1 or 2 or 3 services. And so when we make it really easy for them to just say yes with one option, that doesn't mean we can't offer them the other stuff later. Just give them one so they make a choice, and the choice is yes to work with you. And so just to recap, the 3 reasons, we'll go in the right order this time. The third reason was that people aren't clicking on your emails is that you're immediately jumping into the sales emails, and they're not ready to buy from you. They don't know you, and you haven't built trust. The second one is that you are not connecting the reason that they should click on that link with their problems and the issues that they're going through. There's no benefit in them or for them, or they haven't figured out the benefit of clicking on the link and what it means to them. And then the first one is you're using too many calls to action. If you're using a bunch of calls to action, you're confusing. And if you confuse, as Don Miller would say, you lose. And so that's what I've got for you today. Once again, if you're interested in getting some help with your email marketing and you really want to utilize this as a tool in your business to increase sales and growth in your business, I would love for you to come and join me in the Email Breakthrough Academy. Doors are open now until next Tuesday at midnight Mountain Time. In the meantime, I hope you have a great week. I will be live again next Tuesday, actually Monday. I will be answering questions. And then also Tuesday, I'm going to come on and do another little training for you. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Take care.